I'm sure you've noticed that you've gotten more and more credit increases from them. They're sending you things talking about, transfer balance and all of those things. That's because they know that your credit has improved. So if you've got that 26, 25% rate or what have you, what you want to do is give them a call. You want to call the credit card company, look on the back of that card and call that 800 number and say, I would like for you to lower my interest rate. My credit score has improved tremendously since I've started with you. I've always been a good steward over it. I'd like for you to reevaluate my interest rate and lower it for me and see what they say. Most of the time, if you're a good customer, and you probably are, especially if you've had these, you went from 585 to 750, then you've done a very good job and you have been a good customer, and they may lower that rate for you. Now, I noticed that I didn't say, I want you to lower my rate 5 percentage points. I don't want you to give them something. I want you to just say it and leave it out there in the air and see what they come back with. And I learned that myself the hard way, if you will, but it worked out for me. I called one of my credit cards, and I think it was an 18.99 or something of that nature. And I called them and I said, hey, I would like for you to lower my interest rate. Take a look at it for me. And in my head, I was thinking they might lower it down to 15% or they'll lower it down to 12% or something like that. But they didn't. They lowered it down to 5.99. So that was way more than I thought that they would. But now I have 5.99% interest rate on that credit card for life, unless I screw something up. So I want you to do that. Your credit has increased. It's increased tremendously. And now you went from bad to good or to excellent. Then you want to call your credit card company and ask them to reevaluate that for you. Something else that you can do. Oh, well, you know what? Before I get, no, let me finish that out. Then we'll do the question of the day. So something else you could do. So you can call and you can do that, right? You've got those old cards too where you have an annual fee. So maybe you got a card, it's got an annual fee on it. You don't want to have to pay an annual fee. I mean, annual fees were typical back in the day. Then people got a little more knowledgeable and realized they didn't have to pay an annual fee all the time. So they kind of went away a little bit. Now they're back again. So if you've got an annual fee, and especially if you don't use a card that often at all, the only thing that's being charged on there is that annual fee, then I want you to go ahead and give them a call and ask them to waive the annual fee. Now, you're not going to stop with just 1 year. If they say, yeah, sure, we'll waive your annual fee for this year, you say, hey, could you waive it for 2 years? And see what they say. It's all in negotiation. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? But it's worth the shot of doing that. That saves yourself whatever the annual fee is. Some of them are as much as $75 a year. So you save yourself $75. If it's only $35, then you save yourself $35 by doing just that. So you're going to give them a call and say, hey, I need you to waive this annual fee for me, especially if you've been a very good customer of theirs. I want you to do that too. Here's another thing that you can do. So when it comes down to getting those offers in the mail, you got the bank and they send you the offer in the mail to say, I want you to transfer this balance. You can transfer this balance. You can transfer all the way up to whatever your credit limit is. And here's what it'll cost you. So they'll say it's going to cost you $10 to do the transfer, or say 5% of whatever the amount that you transfer. That's going to be the cost for us doing this for you. And we're going to give you 12 months at 0% interest, so you can pay it off. You're going to save interest for 12 months. You get those in the bank in your mailbox as well. That's another sign that your credit is going in the right direction when you start getting those. And when it goes from offering you 0% for 12 months to 0% for 18 months, then you know it's really, really high and it's doing really well. Here's a negotiation you can do with that. So they're going to send that to you. They're going to send you the blank check, and they're going to tell you how to get online. You can just do it by online transfer and whatnot. Before you do that, give your credit card company a call. Call them. I don't care what they offered you. Call them and ask for something that's higher or more or better for you. So if they sent you one that said, okay, we'll transfer it from $10 or 5%, whichever one is more. It's not going to be which one is less. Whichever one is more, then we'll do the transfer. Call and say, hey, I would love to do it. I would love to do this transfer, but I think 5% is a little much. I plan on transferring like $4,000. So that's $200 for me just to transfer from here to there. I'm not sure I'll even pay that much interest if I do it this way. So can you lower that amount from 5% to say 2 and see what they say? Even if you fall at 3 or 4%, you still saved yourself a little bit of money. So you want to call, you want to negotiate that. Everything is negotiable. So you want to call, you want to do that. Not only do you want to do that, you also want to negotiate the time frame. So if they give you 0% for 9 months, you want to say, I appreciate 0% for 12 months if you can do it. You've got a program out there for me. Or if they say no, we don't have one, say thank you. Put a note in my account that when you're able to do 12 months for me, then I'm willing to go ahead and do this, and have put a note in my account. Give me a call or send me a letter once you get there. Once you get to where I need you to be, then give me a call. So you can negotiate all of those things. You can at least call and ask. It doesn't hurt or it doesn't cost you anything to call and give and ask them. I've done that. I've done it several times. I've called to do a balance transfer from one credit card company to another, and I think they were offering me 4% to as the fee to transfer over. And I asked them, hey, could they cut it in half for me? And they did. So they cut it down to 2%. I don't remember how much I transferred, but I think it was like $6,000 or something like that. So I made that transfer. So I saved myself some money to do so. Now, I didn't get the opportunity, or I didn't get the benefit of them extending it for me. I think I had it on 15 months of 0% interest, and so they didn't give me, like 18 months or whatever. But it was worth the shot to do so and give them a call to see if I can, save some money and, get that consolidation done. So it's worth a try. So if you have a bank card and you're getting those things done, then you're going to give that 800 number a call and talk to them and see what they can do for you. When we come back on the other side of the question of the day, we're going to talk a little bit more about bank cards and the secure card, how they're going to help you, how they hurt you, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned, all right? So before we get to the question of the day, I got to give a couple more shout outs. I got to give shout out to Keith and Kevin Ford. They celebrated birthdays earlier this week, so happy birthday to the twins, Keith and Kevin Ford. Clarissa Isom, happy birthday to you. I already gave Angie one. Kenny Burns, got to give my man Kenny Burns a happy birthday shout out. I know he's somewhere doing it up big. Kenny Burns, one of my frat brothers, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And I got to give a shout out to Trent McCain, Esquire. So Trent A. McCain, happy birthday to you, sir. I know you're going to be doing it up big as well. All right, so let's jump to the question of the day. Question of the day is brought to you by Cute as a Cupcake, Cupcakery and Bake Shop, where the cupcakes are more than just cute, they're delicious. Get by Cute as a Cupcake. It's at 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. So this question is from Chris, and I forget where Chris is from, and I should know this. But this question is from Chris. And so Chris' question was, does the amount of money a person makes affect their credit score? In other words, if you have two people with the same credit situation, such as available credit, credit usage, average age of history, but one person earns $50,000 a year and the other person earns $150,000 a year, does the higher earner have a better credit score? Well, Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate you for sending this question in for the question of the day. And to answer your question simply, no. No, it does not impact your score positively for you if you make more money. Like you said, in the same situation, you got the same available credit, same length of history, same everything else, all things being equal, and I make $50,000 and Chris, you make $150,000, our credit scores will not be reflected differently at all. It's not about how much you make, because on your credit report is nothing about how much you make is on your credit report. Now your employer is on there, but they are not taking that into account at all. So, and just because you work at McDonald's doesn't mean that you work at McDonald's and you don't make $150,000. Because if that's on your credit report It just says you work at McDonald's. It doesn't say if you work fries at McDonald's, and it doesn't say if you're the attorney for McDonald's and you work in Bolingbrook, Illinois, where the headquarters used to be. Maybe it's still there. So you could be doing that. You can be the manager or whatever. They don't know how much money you make. So the credit bureaus do not factor in how much money you make. I've mentioned it before about how Warren Buffett talks about he has a horrible credit score. Now, the man makes more money than most people on the planet, and he has a bad credit score. He just simply does. I can imagine that Donald Trump has a bad credit score because of the bankruptcies that he's filed, but he's worth millions, if not billions, of dollars. So it doesn't matter how much that is. And I think I've talked about it before, too, that I've actually seen back in the day when I was working at the finance company, I've seen people with regular jobs, school teachers, people that worked at, jewelry stores and all kinds of places that had very good credit scores just simply because they were good stewards over their credit. And I've seen people that have been in the NBA and attorneys and doctors that had very, very bad credit scores. And so they made much more money, but oftentimes what happens with all of us, the more money we make, the more money we spend. Doesn't mean that you're responsible just because you make more money, just means you make more money. So, Chris, I hope that answers your question. You do not get a bump, if you will, in your credit score just because you make more money than the other person. So all things being equal, the $50,000 person versus the $150,000 person, they could have the exact same credit score, or the person smaller with a smaller amount of money could make more. So Chris, thank you so very much. I appreciate you emailing me. You guys can email me too, 800creditscoreman@gmail.com. That's where you can catch me. Send your questions there. I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as @creditscore_man. If you follow me on Twitter, I always follow back. Instagram, I'm 800 Credit Score Man on Instagram as well as Facebook. So catch me there. And I'm going to invite you guys to come in and join the group Credit Score Comeback. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And every time we get somebody new that comes into the group, maybe they even rehash some old stuff we've already talked about, but new things come up all the time. And so I want to ask you guys to join the Credit Score Comeback group on Facebook. And we talk about stuff all week. And you can submit questions and all that kind of stuff there as well. All right, so let's jump back into the show with this. All right, so we're talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. We're talking about bank cards and making sure that you give them a call so you can save yourself some money. So, if your credit score has improved, go ahead and do that. Make sure that you do that. You go ahead and you try to save as much money as possible. Keep that money in your pocket. The whole point and purpose of this show is to help you increase your credit score so you get a better interest rate to save you money. So let's try to save you money every which way we can. All right, so what I want to talk about with the show, and we down to the last 3, 4, 5 minutes, I wanted to talk about, for the most part, how do these different cards impact your credit score? So if you have a bank card, does that give you any better leg up than if you happen to have a secured card, or if you have a card from a place that's not as highfalutin or the mainstream as, say, a Bank of America or something of that nature? Does it help you to have one of those cards? A lot of people want to go from one card to another card because they think it's helpful for their credit score. It's not. So if you have a secured card, as long as you have a card and it's on your credit report, it's helping your credit score and you're doing the right things by it. You've got low debt utilization, all those things. You are doing what you need to as far as the credit score and the credit bureaus are concerned. So if you've got a bank card and you've got a store card and you've got a secured card from back in the day, then they're all equal, if you will, in the credit scoring system's mind. They're all equal. It's only in your mind where you think, oh, well, my Amex is much better than my little lowly Visa that's over here with Capital One. It's not necessarily the case. So if you've got those things, you can use those things to help you build or rebuild your credit. Secure card, store card, or bank card. The differences typically lie not in what your credit scores are, but the differences lie in how much money you have to pay these people back. And that leads me to this point. So if you've got a bank card or you've got your secured card and you got a store card, and you go into whatever store, pick a store, and you have the card for that store, and they ask you, hey, are you going to put that on your XYZ card today? When they ask you that and you had no intentions on putting it on that card for that store, don't. Don't go ahead and use the card just because you got the card, and not just because you just building up debt if you had planned on paying cash or using your debit card or what have you. Maybe you plan to use a different credit card. Here's how I want you to think about these things when you're talking about saving yourself money.